Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast. The NFL playoffs are here, and we, the L7C, are going to be talking about each round as each week progresses. And we have the NFL expert, Justin Akindele, with us today. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. It's Super Wild Card Weekend. Let's get it.
Hey, man, all those people who said the NFL wouldn't play all 256 regular season games, we tried to tell them that y'all don't know what league you're talking about. It's going to happen. They did it, and now we're in the playoffs.
By any means necessary.
By any means necessary. But before we get into these playoff games, we actually had some breaking news on Deshaun Watson being upset with the Houston Texans. He is mad that he wasn't in the know of the new GM hiring. So now he's a disgruntled employee, and we know how superstar disgruntled employees go. Justin, where are you seeing this go from here? Are we looking at Deshaun leaving Houston?
Well, I want to make it a point that the owner said that he was going to let Deshaun Watson be in some of the decision making for the new GM and the head coach, and then the owner goes around and hires this guy. So
wow.
I understand Deshaun Watson being pissed off. And I'm him. I'm asking for a trade right now. They already traded DeAndre Hopkins as best receiver before the season started. This is the last straw if I'm Deshaun Watson.
Where's Houston at in the draft board? Are they they have to be in the top 10, top 6?
No, they did not have their pick. Miami has it, remember?
Oh, that's right. So even if they traded Deshaun Watson, they can't even draft a quarterback.
Well, they'll trade him and try to get picks. You'd be able to get a bunch of picks for him. So yeah, you trade him for picks.
Will you though? Because they traded DeAndre Hopkins and they only got a third round and a washed up running back.
This is Deshaun Watson we're talking about, franchise quarterback. He is at least a couple first round picks, if you ask me.
We'll see, man. We're gonna see. What teams do you think are gonna trade for him or would be interested? New England comes to mind, definitely.
Yeah, New England Patriots. New Orleans Saints, depending on what Drew Brees does. Indianapolis Colts.
That's a good one. I don't know if they'll trade within division, but
yeah, a couple of the 49ers. 49ers can be in line. I think Jimmy G might be on his way out.
Really?
Yeah, if I'm.
They just paid Jimmy G, and he just took him to a Super Bowl when they were healthy. You think he'd be out already?
They paid Jimmy G in 2017.
Okay,
I believe so. His cap hit wouldn't be as big as as a Carson Wentz cap hit per se.
Carson Wentz, our favorite person on this podcast.
Yes, not Carson Wentz cap hit. So yeah, they're going to be in the market too.
Okay. Well, shit, we're gonna have to wait and see. Maybe by this weekend we hear something, or do you think they're gonna wait till near the draft to make a move, if a move is made?
The move's made probably before the draft, or probably before free agency, before you gotta pay him some extra bonus or something. But it all depends on what Deshaun Watson does. If he demands a trade, then shit can get interesting. So,
agreed.
Just gotta see what he does.
Yeah, but we'll keep that on the lookout, and if something breaks, you'll hear definitely from Justin and I. But let's get into this playoffs, man. Last week of the season ended this past Sunday. We have the teams fully set. We have the Green Bay Packers in the NFC, the top NFC team. Then you have the Saints, Seahawks, the Washington football team. They did win, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Rams, and the Bears. First, before we go to the AFC, any of those surprising to you?
None of those are too surprising, except the Bears making it. Then they backed into the playoffs because the Arizona Cardinals could not handle their business against the Rams last week. So that's the only reason why that Chicago's in the playoffs.
Yeah, those last two seeds just for that same reason, because if the Rams would have lost, they would have been out too, right?
Yeah, the Rams if they lost, it would have been out because the Cardinals would have took that spot.
Yeah, so those last two were the surprising to me, and then Washington took care of business, and they're 7-9. In the AFC, we got the Kansas City Chiefs, the top seed. We got Buffalo, we got Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Baltimore, Cleveland, and Indianapolis. Do any of those surprise you?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Indy got in because they were the team on the outside looking in. They needed either Baltimore, Cleveland, or Miami to loss, and Miami got boat race last week against Buffalo. So I wasn't expecting Miami to get killed like that. And also the Buffalo Bills as a 2 seed. We would never thought at the beginning of the season that Buffalo would be the number 2 seed and the highest team going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the fact that Pittsburgh didn't get a number one or 2 seed, that's also a shocker as well.
Since you brought it up, I gotta hold you to it. Last week, all those teams you said that weren't gonna try, they all tried. And they ruined things like the Buffalo Bills killing Miami. We didn't think they'd try, and they
yeah, and
put a 50.
They didn't even need to do that. Really, they didn't need to win that game after Pittsburgh didn't start Big Ben. You knew that outcome was going to be a Browns win. So yeah, that was crazy. I wasn't expecting 56 points by Buffalo in Week 17.
But the thing is, I guess with the AFC and the playoffs in general, that a 10-6 Miami team not getting in the playoffs just show how competitive the AFC was this year.
Yeah, it's super competitive. All the teams are 11-5 or better.
Yeah, and Miami's going to be fine. They went 10-6, and they're going to get the number 3 pick in the draft. So
yeah, they're in very good shape. They have a good defense. Everyone's worried about Tua. I think they're overreacting just a tad bit. Let's give him a receiver and let's see how good he does. Let's get him someone on the outside and see what he can do.
Agreed. Well, let's get into this, man. Let's break these games down for us. First one is the Colts and the Bills, and I'm just going to let you take it away. This is the first game on the Saturday at 1 p.m.
Yeah, this is the first game on Saturday, 1 p.m. Give a little recap of what happened with the teams. Colts, best wins of the season. They had a Week 10 win against Tennessee. Week 11 win against Green Bay when they beat them in overtime. If you guys remember that game. And then they beat the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 14. That was the beginning of the end for the Raiders. Worst loss for the Colts. They lost to Jacksonville in week 1, and then they lost to Tennessee by 19 points in Week 12, and they also lost to Pittsburgh in Week 16, and they were up 21. They were up 21-7 in that game and gave up a lead, so not good. Then Buffalo, of course, their best wins are against Seattle. That game on Sunday where they just destroyed Seattle. The Monday night game against San Francisco where Josh Allen put the whole league on notice, and then the game against the Steelers, Sunday Night Football, where they put the league on notice again. After the Arizona loss, Buffalo Bills won 6 straight, and their worst losses were against Kansas City after a little COVID here, and then the Kyler Murray Hail Mary game. So good matchup. I expect Buffalo to easily take this game. They have their number one total DVOA on Football Outsiders right now, weighted. So Football Outsiders has them as the best team going into it right now. I just think it's a quarterback mismatch at this point. I don't really see the Colts being able to keep up with the Bills, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly see the Bills, the way they're playing right now, I could see them winning by 2 touchdowns. I don't know about the best team going in. I think it's between them and the Green Bay Packers. But the Bills are on fire right now. And the progression from last year to this year, I expect them to, because last year they were a wild card team and they lost to the Texans, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and that game went to overtime as well.
Yep, and that game went to overtime. So from that to now a 13-3 team, I expect them to win this playoff game. It's showing that they made the right move in getting Josh Allen at quarterback and then trading for Stephon Diggs, and they'll win this game. Now, depending on who they play next, they potentially might be in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, let me just tell you some of Josh Allen's stats from the season. 69% completion percentage, 4,544 yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Of course, Stephon Diggs is number 1 receiver, best receiver in the NFL right now. Might be between him and Devontae Adams.
It is.
Yeah, but Stephon Diggs had 127 catches for over 1,500 yards and 8 touchdowns. So
just remember a couple years ago where in that GQ interview, Jalen Ramsey called Josh Allen trash and didn't understand why the Bills drafted him. And here we are. And those stats in any other year, that's an MVP right there.
Yeah, there's been some good performances this season, MVP wise. Shit, I think Derrick Henry should get the MVP. Honestly, Derrick Henry 2K, but we'll get to him later.
So what's the line on this? Is it Buffalo? Buffalo's a 7?
Yeah, Buffalo a 7-point favorite. Honestly, I like Buffalo to cover that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I already said they wouldn't by 2 touchdowns, so obviously I'm going with it.
I think Buffalo can cover it. The Colts can run the ball. Jonathan Taylor has had a breakout season.
Yes,
but I don't see Phillip Rivers if they get down or anything. I don't see him coming back.
Yeah,
probably won't turn the ball over. The Bills' defense last week was picking everything that Tua threw.
And so, they ran some I think they ran a kickoff or a punt back.
They ran punt back too. Isaiah McKenzie ran punt back.
Yeah, and just on the Jonathan Taylor thing, the way he's playing, I mean, if you live in Big Ten country, it's nothing new. The dude was the best running back in the Big Ten for the past 3-something years. So you just need a chance. But let's go. Let's switch it up. Go to the NFC, the Rams and Seahawks. I'm going to be honest with this one. I don't know who's going to win because I don't know what team's showing up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Seahawks are locked to win it, honestly. This is just going to be an ugly-ass game, honestly. The Rams basically made the playoffs by sweeping the NFC East and beating the Cardinals twice, essentially. Mm-hmm. And Seahawks started the season 5-0. Wilson was on a historic pace, as you guys remember us talking about. We wanted him. He was our MVP favorite for at least the first 5 weeks of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then the defense was just playing horrible during that 5-0 stretch. They get boat raced by Buffalo in week 9, and then the defense started playing well. Defense started playing well. They started shutting teams down. In between that stretch, they lost to the Giants. But the Seahawks are currently a 3.5-point favorite right now. Jared Goff broke his finger in week 16 against the Jets. So regardless of which quarterback's playing for the Rams, I think it's the Seahawks win.
Okay. I guess with the Rams, just from seeing them last week, what if their defense comes to play again and they get some interceptions on Russell? And what if their defense holds them in long enough for the Rams just to not mess it up? Is that possible?
Yeah, there's definitely a path to winning for the Rams. They can absolutely win this game. I mean, both teams split the season. They split the season series. They play each other tough, but I just think the Rams are at a quarterback disadvantage.
Yes.
Extreme quarterback disadvantage. This seems like Russell Wilson tends to strive to this moment. I've just seen this game so many times. It's going to come down. It's going to be 13-16. Russell Wilson going to have the ball in the 2-minute drill. He's going to get him down the field. It's going to be at the 40-yard line. He's just going to airball that shit up to DK or Tyler Lockett, and that's going to win the game. That's what I'm predicting. That's what I think is going to happen. This is where I'm at on this game, honestly.
What's the line on this one?
Seahawks -3.5.
Okay. Yeah, I think Seattle's going to cover. Yeah, I'm with you. Unless Aaron Donald is otherworldly and gets 5 sacks in the game, I'm seeing a Seattle win as well. That one's just going to be interesting. And then we're going to go from one dual threat quarterback to another and the 2K running back. Oh, no, we are not. Actually, no, because we have to talk about my favorite team. Mm-hmm. Oh, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Washington football team. That's the Saturday night main event. Washington was the biggest surprise in the NFC East. At the beginning of the year, it was the Eagles or the Cowboys when they were fully healthy. Dak Prescott gets hurt. That sets Dallas all the way back. Still had a chance to make the playoffs if they would have got some help. We've talked ad nauseum about Philadelphia their struggles. And Washington crept in there and they played tough defense. Alex Smith came back, where Dwayne Haskins is gone. Ron Rivera is a coach. Yeah, they finished 7-9, but remember I think the last time team was 7-9 and won a playoff game was the Seattle Seahawks with the beast mode run against the Saints. They were 7-9 and won a playoff game. And they're going against the Bucks. And the Bucks, well, we were both very opposite about them. There was a time where you thought they were going to the Super Bowl, and then they got smacked 38-3. And then I've just been very critical on them when they play against a good pass rush. I'm feeling you're leaning Tampa Bay, which is respectable, but if Chase Young and them make Tom Brady tap dance, could they lose this game?
It's honest to God the only way Washington can win. Their literally only path to winning this game is to apply pressure to Tom Brady with the front four, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Deron Payne, Ryan Kerrigan. They got to get pressure up front on Tom Brady, and they have to somehow get a cheap touchdown, maybe get a pick six, maybe do something on special teams. But Washington has the worst defense Washington has the worst offense in the league. They're ranked 32 in DVOA. So their only path to winning is getting an all-star performance from that defensive line and that defense. That's the only way they're going to win this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. But man, this is the first time in the NFC in the playoffs with Brady. But if you know history, when he was on the Patriots, Brady always lost to those NFC East teams. He's 0-3. He lost to the Giants twice. What did they have? Pass rush both times. Got to him. Kept the game where they were undefeated. That was a 17-14 win. Washington could do that. The second game, it wasn't. There was more points, but pass rush got to him. Even the Eagles game was high scoring, but like you said, they got a timely turnover when they needed it, won the game. So that's kind of interesting that he's going against an NFC East team in his first playoffs in the NFC against a team that has a pass rush, because that front four, if they pay them all, that is a deadly front four.
It's definitely deadly, but what you forgot you mentioned it, saying those three games, those teams, at least the second Giants game and the Eagles game, those teams could score, and Washington can't. Alex Smith is compromised right now, so if he can't play, it's going to be Taylor Heineke. I don't think it's going to happen. They got one way to win the game, one way. And I've seen Washington do it. I've seen them against the 49ers. I remember that game. The defensive line won them that game. So they can do it, but I still don't think it's happening against the Bucs right now. And you got to remember, it's Tom Brady's first game in the NFC. Bruce Arians should have some pressure, because you got to remember too, Tom Brady's never been a wild card. Yep. He's always been a division winner. He's always had that first playoff game at home. So there's going to be a little bit of pressure on the Bucs, and I think they're going to rise to that occasion too. Mike Evans, I don't know if he's going to play in the game either. And I think if he doesn't play, it might open up the offense a little bit more, because you have one less cooking in the kitchen to get the ball to. So,
yeah, I'm taking the Bucs on this too. I don't know which Bucs is going to show up. That team that can't protect Tom Brady and can't rush the football, is it going to be the team where he's slinging it for 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, and Bruce Arians is there yapping? Bruce Arians is already talking about, we're not playing Dwayne Haskins, we're playing Alex Smith. He's better than. I was like, okay. And Chase Young saying that he wants to go against Tom Brady. Do you think they're going to double Chase, or they're just going to leave everyone to their own devices and guard him one-on-one?
I don't think you can double team anyone on that defensive line, because this is going to free up the next guy. So, I don't think they're going to double. It's going to be mono. Left tackle versus defensive end, and the Bucs are an 8.5-point favorite.
Okay. Feel like the Bucs.
I would tease them. If you're going to bet the game, I would tease them with someone else to get that line lower, because I think Washington could keep it close, but I just don't see them winning.
Okay, and that's the Saturday slate. That's going to be all day. Let's go to Sunday. We got the Ravens at the Titans. A couple weeks ago, we broke this down on how the hell the Ravens are getting into the playoffs because they were losing and they were the outside looking in. They rattled all those games in a row and they got in. And we got Tennessee, who last year surprised everyone, got to the AFC Championship game. Derrick Henry has become a true household name, the best running back in football to me personally right now. How do you see this one going? Because this is a rematch of last year, because last year Baltimore was the favorite and Tennessee came in after beating New England, and it was closer than what it at the end score, but Tennessee controlled that whole game.
Yeah, the playoff game last year, they controlled the game. They played earlier this season in week 11, and that was in the middle of the Ravens slump, and they lost to Tennessee in overtime, if you guys remember. Like
Derrick Henry walk-off.
Derrick Henry walk-off, just about to say that. But it's going to be a heavy hitter matchup, at least offensively, because the Titans defense is god awful. Their defensive DVOA is 29th with a 3% variance. And variance means that they are consistently bad on defense. Consistently. So I don't know what their plan is to try to stop. I think it's going to be a lot of points. Both offenses can light it up. Lamar Jackson is back to running the ball like he used to. Tennessee has Derrick Henry. They have Ryan Tannehill, AJ Brown, Corey Davis, so they can pass the ball, but they can pass the ball, but they haven't faced a good defense in a while. So I think they're going to get smacked in the mouth a little bit. This is the first game that I bet Baltimore -3. So I really like Baltimore in the spot. They're hot right now. They've been good. I know it's been against terrible competition, but last week against the Bengals, they rushed for 402 yards. They rushed for over 400 yards on the ground. So if they can put up a performance like that, I think they're keen to do it right now because the Titans defense is not good, like I said. So I see Baltimore literally running away with it.
Yeah, this is one of those games where both the teams want to run the ball. So whoever gets behind first, they're going to have to change their ways. And it's happened with both teams. If they get both of these teams, if they're down 10 apiece and they have to throw the ball every down and get away from their run game, that's not how these teams win. They win by running the ball. And to be honest, Baltimore, it's the playoffs. They all need to win, but Baltimore needs to win, more specifically Lamar Jackson, because if he goes again and he loses in the playoffs again, that's going to carry with him for a while. He's going to be one of those can't win in the playoff quarterbacks if it's 3 straight years of that happening.
Yeah, it'll be 3 straight, but I will also like to tell you that Peyton Manning went 0-3 in his first 3 playoff games too. Just
that's
for
true.
reference.
No, that's true. That's true. But
so I think it's a little overbloated. You gotta remember, Lamar Jackson is 24 years old. He is young.
The Peyton Manning thing, the only difference is back then they gave quarterbacks more time than they do now. If you're not doing stuff like, obviously he's an MVP, so he's fine. But in the first 3 years now in quarterback era, they write your whole career without doing any of the details. That's just how it is now.
Yeah, but let's look at Lamar Jackson the past 3 years, though. If I looked it up, he probably has the best win percentage the past 3 years at quarterback.
Yeah, regular season, I think he's beaten every team except the Chiefs.
Yeah, so they're getting there. So they just got to figure out their playoff woes. I also want to mention that if the game is close, Baltimore also has a special teams edge. Baltimore's special teams DVOA is second, and Tennessee's is 28th. If you remember earlier in the season, Tennessee's kicker Stephen Gostkowski was missing kicks, losing them games, and they kicked a field goal to beat the Texans last week. And I don't know who that kicker was. It wasn't Gostkowski, but he doinked it in and hit and got it in, and that's what saved them from being a wild card team, honestly. So,
yeah, it's going to be a good game. It'll be very, very interesting to see. And obviously, we didn't even say is Derrick Henry, 2,000 yards, the 8th player in NFL history to achieve that feat. And the guy is just built different. It's crazy.
It is wild. He got 2,000 yards or 378 attempts. He even had 400 carries, 5.4 yards a rush, 126 yards a game, with a couple 200-yard games sprinkled in there. He had 200 yards last week to even get there. He had to get 200 yards last week to even get to 2,000.
That's wild. It's going to be interesting. I know you said, is it Ravens -3?
Yeah, it was Ravens -3.
Yeah, that's a good line. Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting game. It's probably going to be the best game of the day if everything goes well. Now, this game, Bears versus Saints, me personally, this should be a massacre. But when it comes to the New Orleans Saints in the playoffs the past 3 or 4 years, what can go wrong does go wrong. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I'm seeing a total mismatch for the Saints. I mean, great run team, have Drew Brees still. Like I said, Chicago backed their way into the playoffs. They started off at 5-1. We were kind of, iffy on them, and then the next 6 weeks they lost 6 straight games in the middle of the season. Yep. Nick Foles got hurt on a Monday night game against the Vikings. Here comes Mitchell Trubisky. They start playing well. They go on a 3-game winning streak won games against Minnesota, Carolina, and Jacksonville. So not very good teams, and I just don't see the Bears winning, honestly. I mean, they do have a couple of good offensive pieces: David Montgomery, Allen Robinson, pretty good defense, but I just don't see them going to New Orleans beating the Saints, honestly.
Only way I could see it happening is if the Saints lay an egg like they did against the Eagles a couple weeks ago. That's the only way, but this should be New Orleans win. They need to win in the playoffs. They can't keep coming in and having a miracle in Minnesota, the pass interference call, giving Kirk Cousins his first playoff win. They got to get it done. Drew Brees doesn't have that much time left. This is their best chance, if any, to make a run to the NFC Championship game. What's the line on this one?
Saints are -10. I don't think they're going to win by more than 10. That's a big line. When we get to the bets, I'll tell you what I did with that game, because I think it'll be a touchdown game, not a 10-point game.
And then the last game, the Sunday night game on NBC. I can't believe them. The Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, round 3. Cleveland's first playoff appearance since 2002, and they are going against a team they know oh so well, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kevin Stefanski had COVID, so he's not going to be coaching that game, which I actually think is a huge blow. What do you see when you're seeing this game, the Browns and the Steelers?
Yeah, Browns first playoff appearance since 2002, and the quarterback for that game, Kelly Holcomb, threw for 429 yards.
Oh, yeah,
lit it up. But they split the season on the year. Pittsburgh won the first game in week 6, 38-7. Cleveland won the game last week, 24-22. Pittsburgh was resting stars. TJ Watt didn't play. Pouncey didn't play. Big Ben didn't play. Browns are still dealing with COVID issues, like you said. They could have clinched a playoff spot in week 16, but they lost to the Jets. Baker threw the ball 53 times, and it just wasn't a good performance. But they got the job done against Pittsburgh last week. I'm seeing a Pittsburgh win. Pittsburgh gets pressure on the quarterback, and we all know that is Baker Mayfield's biggest liability. If you can get pressure on Baker Mayfield, he's just not the same guy. The Browns have a COVID. I think one of the guards aren't going to play, so they're going to have a backup in there. The Steelers have been playing like complete dog shit since they lost to Washington in week 12.
Yep.
So, but I don't think the shitty play is going to bite them in the ass this week. I think they're going to get what they're due next week.
Yeah, the keys for Cleveland to win this game, you got to do what got you there. You got the best back duo in the backfield with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. You got to give those guys the ball. And you said it with the pressure. there's nothing. If the running back gets going, that could alleviate some things because Baker's not going to win this game throwing 30 to 40 times. That's not happening. He needs to throw the ball about 20, 25 times, have no picks. Kareem or Nick Chubb have 100-something rushing yards, which is going to be hard. TJ Watt's the leading sack leader in the NFL, so he's going to be coming for Baker. But we always joke about Phillip Rivers having one of those 3-pick games. Ben is almost in that same thing because you never know when Ben's going to have one of those really bad games where he's just turning the ball over. He's holding on to it too long. I need Cleveland to win for my financial purposes, but I don't think side thing. Okay. I have a 10-year bet with somebody that if Cleveland makes the playoffs from 2020 to 2030, I actually can get whatever I want and I don't have to give them anything because he was so confident that the Browns would never make the playoffs in these next 10 years.
What an idiot.
Yeah, that's just a side note. But yeah, I don't see the Steelers losing unless if they play bad like they've been playing, then it'll be a problem. Juju's starting to get some touchdowns ever since he got lit up about the TikTok and all of that. And I mean, we don't know how many shots Big Ben has at getting that third ring, so they gotta get it done. So I do think Pittsburgh comes out on top, but I do think Cleveland is going to show some fight in this game.
Yeah, I don't see Big Ben having the big turnover game because the Steelers dink and dunk to move the ball. They can't run it. No, and the Browns are vulnerable in their secondary, so that's a key. That's going to be a key for Pittsburgh trying to push it downfield. So they can push it downfield. It's going to get ugly.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know how Myles Garrett's going to be because that's another guy who, before he got COVID, he was killing it on the defensive line, getting sacks. But I don't know how healthy he'll be because he's still dealing with some breathing things after COVID. So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited for this weekend because everyone thought it wasn't going to happen, and we're getting 3 NFL games in a day on the weekend. So that's going to be great. But Justin, what are the bets in the playoffs? What's the bettor's mindset? Do you take more things into account because it's the playoffs, or is it similar?
Take more things into account. Some of the lines are going to be inflated because you got a couple of teams that the public really likes, and the public's going to be on the Bills real heavy. Probably going to be on the Ravens real heavy after watching Tennessee barely beat the Texans. So you just got to be smart. Don't let some of the lines trick you. But I do really like Baltimore -3. I took them straight up, laid the 3 points with them. I also got Tampa Bay and Washington. I took the under in that game, 45 points. Like I was saying earlier, Washington has the 32 ranked offense DVOA. So my guess is that they can be somewhat competitive and keep the Buccaneers in the 25, 30 point range, and they might get 10 points. So like the under in that spot. And then I got a couple teases. Saturday tease, I got the Buffalo Bills. I'm teasing their line down to -1. And I'm also teasing the Seattle Seahawks line up to +2.5. So they get points against the Rams. Because like I said, I just don't see the Rams win that game regardless of which quarterbacks win. Like I said, this is going to be a typical Seattle Russell Wilson style game. It's going to be ugly all game. Russell Wilson's going to tear some shit, and I just tease that Buffalo line down just to be safe. And then Sunday teaser, I teased the Steelers line down to a pick 'em, so you don't got to lay any points there. And then I teased up the Chicago Bears because there's always an upset in the playoffs. That's just what it is. True. There's always an upset. I'm too scared to pick one, so I just teased the Chicago Bears up to +16. I don't think they're going to lose by more than 2 touchdowns, and if they do, blow the whole team up. So here we go.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. We pick the favorites right now, and you are right. There is always an upset. especially in wild card weekend, there is always an upset.
Be smart.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Has the NFL said anything about if COVID comes into play about rescheduling a wild card game, or how they said anything about that yet?
I haven't heard anything from what I've been listening to, but I think these wild card games are going to go on as scheduled.
Okay. Well, shoot, man, that's wild card weekend for you. And Justin, that's it. Do you have anything else you want to hit on before we gear up and get ready for wild card weekend?
That's it. We touched on the wild card games. Got on that Deshaun Watson news. I'm very interested to see what happens there. Hopefully, something breaks with that before we talk again.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But where are you going to be watching the games at? You going to be watching it at your place? You got the TV set up? Can you move yet? Are you going out to the bars? If you can even go to the bars in your place because of COVID.
Yeah, we can go to the bars in Cincinnati, but I will not be partaking. I'm still locked out straight in the brace, so I'll be watching them at home.
Oh, shoot. With that being said, that is it for our wild card podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the L7C podcast. Thank you for all the support. 2021, we're starting off right out there with podcasts almost every day since we have wild card weekend this weekend, and then we go from Saturday, Sunday, NFL to Monday, the national championship game. So we got football 3 straight big nights again. So you're going to be hearing from us on these football topics, and we appreciate the support. And that's really all I got. Justin, anything else?
Yeah, go check out the college football podcast we did. Well, you dropped that yesterday.
Yep.
Victory lap OSU podcast. Go check that one out.
Yep. Try to stay humble. Just with Clemson, had to let it out, but then realize that Sean Wade's going to have to guard Devontae Smith. Then you start coming back down to earth. So I looked at mock draft, like Sean Wade. I know before the season, I think he was at least a top 15 pick. Looked at mock draft, They had him down at like 29, 30. Yeah, his play has really brought him down. He was supposed to be the next OSU shutdown corner, the Lattimore's, Okuda types, and he's just been cooked.
He's going to be a Bradley Roby slot corner.
Yeah, and he wants to guard Devontae Smith. So
whoa! Y'all need to go into a shell cover. I don't even know, cover 2. See if you can keep those safeties back. See if you can get pressure with 4 and keep them back.
He said it himself that he wants to guard him. I think he saw the same mock draft that you did, that how he was a top 15 and now he's dropped so low. So if he can guard the newly crowned Heisman Trophy winner, and he's going to be another Alabama top 5 receiver in the draft, that will increase his draft stock. So I think that's what he's going for. I think his parents got in his ear about that.
Yeah, I mean,
but if he gets cooked, then he's going to drop even more.
I hope he's ready for that. That's just something you don't just take. Like Ohio State very well could have hit him defensively and double teamed him, did something. But if you want to man up on him that whole game, Molly Mano, first round pick versus first round pick, we'll see who's a better player. You're gonna have to cover those type of guys when you get drafted anyway. So it's good practice.
True. But with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. You guys take care.
See.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.